So our topic at hand today is continuing our OEM-specific ADAS training, and this week's OEM is Hyundai and Kia because they share an awful lot of components. So they're very similar. That's why we put them together. So the first vehicle we're going to talk about today is going to be the 2016 Sonata. So that was one of their best sellers. So this, even though it's a 2016, it does have a fair amount of equipment on there. They started back early 20 teens or so, starting to put this stuff on there. It's one that has three radars, adaptive cruise control, rear blind spot monitor. It's got two cameras. It's got the high mount one in the windshield for front view, and then the rear view camera in the trunk. And then it has 4 ultrasonic sensors for rear park assist. So the front camera, as we said, is mounted up top, right? And it uses a kind of an interesting, unique target, I thought. So it's vertical instead of most of them. They're horizontal, or you might have multiple ones across. This one, for some reason, is vertical. But I just thought that was a little unique about that. And they give you the proper measurements there, and you can of course get that from Hyundai, or you could get it, if you have like a True Point system or something like that, would be available. But in order to go into the front camera, that is under the lane departure warning. So it's not called out specifically as a camera, but it's lane departure warning. And then we'll go into system tests. And then you can see we have a variant coding, which we'll talk about what that is a little bit later. And then the SPTAC calibrations, so that's for their camera system. So service calibration is required to set the camera pointing angle parameters when the windshield or camera ECU is replaced. So if you do a windshield, like as you would probably know, it does need to be recalibrated. The module should be programmed with the right vehicle variant coding information before service calibration. And like I said, I'll talk more about that a little bit later. Check the vehicle tow-in and tire pressure levels, ensure proper alignment of the camera to the world before proceeding with calibration as suggested. So you want to make sure everything's where it needs to be. Really what you want to do, just like any calibration, as we've discussed, is you want to make sure it's basically like it rolled off the assembly line. So fluid levels where they need to be, tires where they need to be, alignment where it needs to be, etc. So, and then you'd line it up and put it where it needs to be according to service information. Hit continue. Close range target position setting. It's going to tell you where to position the target here. So 90 centimeters plus or minus 1 centimeter high from the ground, and it should be aligned with the horizontal axis of the camera lens. So it's just kind of telling you where everything needs to go. We'd hit continue again, and then it's going to go and shoot the target and align itself as it needs to. All right, so that's front camera. We have the front radar for the smart cruise control unit as well. So it's just a rectangular box in the front bumper area. And for that one, that is under smart cruise control. And then we have system tests there again. And then there's a radar sensor alignment for the smart cruise control and automatic emergency braking. Function aligns the SCC radar sensor after replacement. The alignment should be done when the radar sensor has been removed or replaced, vehicle has been in a front end accident, or after a wheel alignment even. Steering angle sensor replaced or recalibrated, and leading vehicle not detected by the radar sensor. So you'd get an error on the driver's information screen if that was the case. We'll make sure there's no codes and the ignition's on. We'd hit continue. And then it's going to just give you a few other checks that you need to do. Sensor cannot detect a vehicle in front. Park the vehicle on level ground. Take out heavy luggage. Set all tires. Check wheel alignment. Check the front surface. Continue again. This time it's going to ask you where the vehicle is. So in my case, I picked US and Mexico. And then it's going to say enter the distance between the reflector and the radar sensor. So you do need a special tool for this one as well as a reflector. And tell us how far away it is from the vehicle. So we just hit edit here, type it in. I just picked 100, hit OK again. And then it's going to go shoot the radar. And then when it's done, it's going to come back. And then this is just demo data, but it's going to tell you your measured horizontal and vertical angle values. Hit continue, and you're done. This one also has blind spot radar in the rear. So on both corners underneath the taillights, it looks like. We got some units there, and we also can go in the individual units here, so left and right, so whichever one you need to do. And there are functional tests, which would be the light, the dinger, things like that. Got codes and data. And then of course we have our system tests here, blind spot detection calibration. So it sets the blind spot detection radar after replacement. Calibration procedure will clear any missing calibration DTCs, which allows the radar sensors to go through the self-alignment procedure. They continually self-align while the vehicle is driven. So hit continue. And then let's see, function is used to compare vehicle BSD sensor mounting angles to specification. Please install special tool following the special tool installation instructions in manufacturer service menu. So once again, you're going to go through service information, and then it's going to tell you the angles from your measurements. After doing that, you're going to plug them in here. So left side, right side, you hit edit, you type it in, you hit OK, and then it'll be done. Rear camera, it's mounted in the trunk lid, and in this case, no special functions for that. It wasn't even a separate module. And then park assist, no functions for that, but it does have the 4 blind spot sensors in the rear. All right, so that's our Sonata. We also have a 2016 Santa Fe, and that has 2 radars. So it just says rear blind spot monitor, does not have one in the front. 2 cameras, front view and rear view, the high mount one. And then 10 ultrasonic sensors on this one. So it doesn't have adaptive cruise control, but it has self-parking. So front and rear park assist, and then smart park assist system. I guess it's not really self-parking, but it'll steer for you when you're doing a parallel parking maneuver back in 2016. So front camera, same type of deal as the Sonata, but in this case, no calibration for that one. So we just have blind spots. So that brings us to the rear radar. So rear corners as expected. And then we could go in left or right. We go to our system tests and we go to blind spot detection calibration, and it is slightly different. In this case, function sets the radar after replacement, will clear any missing calibration. DTCs may take up to 30 seconds, will not allow cancellation. So remember how on the Sonata, same year, you had to plug in the values. On this one, it does it by itself. So we just hit continue. Switch the ignition off and on, and then it will calibrate itself, and then you're done. You do have to do it for each side individually, but that is quite a bit simpler. So even on the same year, it just depends on who manufactures the radar unit or the camera unit in the other case as well. And then rear camera, no functions for that. And then regular park assist, it has 4 on the rear, 4 on the front. And then we also have the smart park assist. So they call that SPAS. So smart park assist system sensor. So there's 4 in the rear, 6 in the front, and then because there's 1 on each side. And what that does is you turn it on, you turn the system on, and then you drive down the road. And then if you're planning on parking, then it scans the parking spot you're planning on going into. If it thinks it's big enough to do it, it will tell you how to take your hands off the wheel, and then you'll do the brake and the gas, and it will steer you into the parallel parking spot. So even back in 2016, they had at least a mild version of park assist, which some newer cars, it's you can do a straight in, straight out, parallel, whatever. So kind of interesting there. And then we have a 2024 Kia Telluride. So, Hyundai and Kia, very similar. So this would be just like a Hyundai Palisade. But on this one's got a lot of fancy stuff. So it's got 5 radars. It's got for cruise control, front and rear object detection, and automatic emergency braking. It also has 5 cameras. It has the upper one in the windshield for lane keep assist, and 4 around the outside for 360 view. And it has 8 ultrasonic sensors, front and rear park assist. So the way this one was equipped, it didn't have any of that self-parking stuff. So front camera mounted up in the windshield, right by the mirror. And on this one, I don't know when they started this. Late 20 teens, early 20s or something like that. Hyundai and Kia both. They have split them up into advanced driver assistance systems for driving and advanced driver assistance systems for parking. And then in this case, we also have separated different units there. So first one we'll do is the front view camera. And then we'll go into system tests. And that one also has the variant coding and the SPTAC calibration. So that's for the camera. And this is going to be a similar process to the Sonata, but notice how it does say, and windshield must be free and clear. It does talk about needing to be variant coded, right? So Hyundai provides a chart that says, here's what your functions are, and here's what what they rely on. So what pieces of the ADAS does. So for forward collision avoidance assist, use the front view camera, front radar, front corner radar, and the ADAS driving ECU, right? So you can just go through this list and see what is this vehicle equipped with, and then do I need to do a coding function? So there was a variant coding option, and it would be like this. So edit, go in there, pick your country. If it has this, if it has this, if it has this, it's basically enabled or disabling it. So you're telling it what modules it needs to talk to, basically. You'd go through there, code it. This is for a brand new module. You'd have to do that. And then you would just hit save and it would be all set, ready to go. All right, and then it's going to tell you where to put the target. And it is a special target again. And tell it exactly, you tell it exactly where to go. And then once the target is in place and everything's where it needs to be, hit OK, and it'll calibrate. Okay, so next is front radar, and that is mounted below the bumper there. And if we go in, there is a module here for front radar. And then we go to system tests, and we will see the variant coding option. So if you replace it, you need the variant code. Side radars are not called out separate. I believe they're kind of part and parcel of the front radar system. So it's not called out separately there. And then the rear radar is the corner radars. So we would go into system tests, and there's the BSD radar calibration there. And sets the BSD radar after replacement. Calibration procedure will clear any missing calibration DTCs, and this is the automatic one, just like the Santa Fe. So I'll switch the ignition on and off, and then after it's been cleared, the vehicle must be driven to perform the radar calibration. Conditions to perform the dynamic BSD radar calibration may take up to an hour. Vehicle speed greater than 30 miles an hour. Road conditions: a straight road with guardrails, barriers, lampposts, things for the radars to reflect off of. What we need there, we'd hit continue, and then we would drive the car. 360 camera, there's some calibrations we can do for that. So that is the actually under the advanced driver assistance systems parking, because that's park assist with that. And then we have system tests in there. And then we have the calibration and tolerance compensation, and also variant coding. So if we go into calibration, it's going to walk us through how to calibrate them, and we can look at that on the when we go live. There's going to be, you're going to be using the monitor in the vehicle, and then you move it back and forth using the scan tool, but you watch using the plus and minuses or pluses on there, and they're going to change color. So you continue, and then you choose what camera you need to align, and then or close. So I picked the front one. Calibration coordinates of calibration target by using plus and plus plus. So you hit either of those, whatever it tells you to do, then you hit update. It's been calibrated. You can select another property to continue to calibrate, or press update SVM button to proceed to the next camera. And then it would just go, you can go camera to camera to camera. Rear camera, no relearns necessary for that. Park assists, it's got a bunch of sensors, but no calibration needed for that. So let's go live and take a look at these cars. All right, so we got our tool up here. We got our Sonata loaded in. So let's check through the scanner. So we have, for example, the autonomous emergency braking. And in this case, under system tests, we have variant coding. So we talked a little bit about that. Now this one works a little bit different. In the older vehicles, it's a little bit different than the newer vehicles. First, it's going to tell you how it's equipped. What is like the driver's seat position, automatic or standard transmission, the different options that are available on there. So we continue, and then you would go in, let's say, you know, the automatic emergency braking pedestrian option, enable or disable. So I'd say enable, and then it's done. So you can go through all the different variants that are necessary, and then you'll be able to check and make sure that everything took. And in this mode, it doesn't stay, but on a real car, it would. And then, you know, if we wanted to do like the camera, system test there's the SPTAC calibration. And then it's going to tell you, you know, set up the targets correctly, check the alignment and all that. And then it's going to tell you where to position it. And then once you hit continue, it's just going to go test in progress there, right? And it's going to, you know, make sure the target's already there. And it's going to fire at the target and adjust itself. And it's not going to end because I'm not hooked up to a car. All right, we'll go to the Santa Fe. And if we remember, this one really just had blind spot. So if we go into blind spot detection, you'll see we have functional tests there. That's for the mirror alerts. And then we have the system tests, which would be the blind spot detection calibration. And in this game, may take up to 30 seconds. Switch the ignition off and on, and then it goes through the calibration and it's done. So that's a pretty simple operation there. But like we said, that's really the only thing we can do on that one. And then if we look at the Telluride in there, so this one has, like I said, the driving and the parking. So if we go into the parking, or driving, sorry, you can see we have system tests, and there's variant coding and variant coding again. So this variant coding backup and input will be, I can go in and take it out of the old module. So whatever the variant coding happens to be in the module, to back up the variant coding values that are input to the ECU of the current vehicle to the diagnoser. Click the backup button. After replacing the ECU, input the coding values or backup into the input button. So basically it's going to copy the variant to the tool. And then when I need to go put it back in there, it'll do that. So if I want to back it up, I want to back it up to a scan tool, hit OK. And then it should back it up. Stop communication. All right. And then if I'll go and replace the module. And then when I go in, I'll hit continue and then hit input. And then it's going to take what was in there and then paste it back into the vehicle. Easy enough. It's like a copy and paste. That way you don't have to know, oh, does it have this? Does it have that? But if you do need to set it up from scratch and you didn't have a working old one, you can still go in here, edit for the country code, either nothing or Canada. Save it. There it is. I wanted to enable that. Save it. It's just picking things off a menu. So it's pretty straightforward. You just have to know what the vehicle's equipped with, because it might not work as designed if you tell it it's equipped with something it doesn't have. So just be aware of that. And then I wanted to also talk about the camera, the surround view camera. So it should be in there, my history. Yeah, so I think it's in parking aids, actually. No, it's not in parking aids. I went too far. So it's in with the cameras. I'm going to service manual. Accessories. ADAS. Parking is the cameras. Surround view monitor there, and adjustment. So there's a manual procedure. So prepare the car, go through all that. You're going to set up, do some measurements, and then you're going to go through and put them where they need to be. You're going to put the targets down. It's going to look kind of like that. It's going to have a bunch of squares. You're going to make sure they're 90 degrees. And then it's going to walk you through how to do it on the vehicle screen. So it's going to show you what camera, and then you'll just kind of go through and tap the buttons to move the plus signs around there. Either single plus signs or double plus signs. And then it just kind of walks you through, double checking to make sure the plus signs are where they need to be. And you do that with the scan tool. And then once it's done, you're going to double check around the vehicle, make sure everything looks good, nothing's distorted or anything like that. And then your calibration for the around view would be done at that point. And also at that point, we're done with our demonstration. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about next week. So next week, we are going to be talking about misfire diagnosis, because it could be fuel, it could be air, it could be spark, it could be compression, could be any of those things. So we're going to talk about different ways to test, the fuel system, ignition system, figure out those pesky misfires, hopefully without having to disassemble too much. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. Hopefully you'll join me every Tuesday, as always, 6 and 9 Eastern. Go to snapon.com/OT if you want to join on Zoom. Otherwise, 6 p.m. Eastern class goes live to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/SnapOnDiagnostics. You can scan that QR code, It'll bring you over there and subscribe you. And then 9 p.m. Eastern, we go to our Facebook page, which is Snap-on Diagnostics Product and Training. So join me then. If you want to see any of the other topics in this series, this is episode 123 that we're going through right now. So 123 different episodes on all sorts of diagnostics related topics, everywhere from intro to ADAS to automatic transmission operation and testing and everything in between. All available on our YouTube channel. There is a playlist for live training. If you go in there, youtube.com/SnapOnDiagnostics. Also, do we have your email? If we do not have your email, you're missing out on things like technical focus articles, SureTrack blogs, quick tips, all diagnostics related content to help you become a better diagnostician, if you will. So here's an example of one like diagnosing timing chains, stretch timing chain, right? So, hey, that could possibly be a cause for a misfire too. So check it out. If we don't have your email and you're not getting these emails, scan that QR code right there, and then that will bring you right to a page. You can fill out your information, and then you can start receiving those emails. Now, as far as questions tonight, as I said at the beginning, I am traveling this week, so this is pre-recorded. But if you do have questions, if you're on Zoom, just reply to that confirmation email you got. If you're on YouTube, leave a comment under the video. And if you're on Facebook, leave a comment under the video, and I'll answer those as I can. With that, thank you very much for spending a little bit of time with me. Hopefully, we'll see you next week for misfire diagnosis. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Have a nice night, and take care.